Hey everyone, welcome here. I'm Maika, and beneath the recent video, some of you asked about the differences in how breakups affect you and others. How come you're more affected by this ex compared to previous ones? Or how come your ex doesn't seem to be affected by the breakup at all? In this video, I'll dissect why that happens, so stay tuned. A breakup is a highly emotional event in connection to a significant person, and research shows that people have different styles of relating to others, relationships, and the emotions that are relevant in a relationship. These are called attachment styles. And an attachment style will not only influence how someone seeks out relationships, enters them, and behaves in relationships, but it also influences how they respond to the end of a relationship. Next, I'll explain how each attachment style moves through a breakup. And while I go through this, you can kind of go along and see where you recognize yourself and where you recognize your ex. Secure attachment. People with a secure attachment style feel no or little shame about themselves or their emotions. When the grief of the breakup hits them, they will allow themselves to feel those emotions. They will allow themselves to be affected by it, and they will care for themselves in a way that allows them to process the grief and to adapt to the new reality. They will go through different emotions. They will feel shattered, angry, and sad. They might go through a phase of self-doubt and regret, or they might find it hard to accept the reality of the breakup, or have a phase of blaming their partner. So it's not like they're not affected emotionally or that they can't feel lost. At the same time, they're able to comfort, support, and validate themselves throughout this process. They have a strong, healthy, and reassuring inner adult voice that is active alongside the grief that they can tap into from time to time, and that provides emotional safety and support. They're also able to reach out to friends and family. They're able to talk about their experience and allow others to comfort them. So not only do they support and validate themselves, they also get support and validation from others. On the outside, you'll see them grieving, you'll see them reaching out to others, you'll hear them processing the breakup, and you'll see them doing things to take care of themselves and their physical health as well. Anxious attachment. Someone with an anxious attachment style has many worries and anxieties about losing their partner. So when they do go through a breakup, that loss doesn't fall onto the backdrop of a calm nervous system like it does with someone who's securely attached, but it falls onto the backdrop of a dysregulated nervous system. So the blow hits much harder. People with an anxious attachment style didn't get consistent emotional support from caregivers as they grew up. So as kids, they had to fight really hard to be seen and heard. And as adults, they continue with the strategy that they learned to get their emotional needs met. So they'll be hypervigilant when it comes to threats, to them not being responded to or cared for. And they will protest these situations and fight hard to get their needs met. The anxious attachment style, so to say, keeps all of the small and large wounds from the past very alive in themselves as a protective strategy. So, to someone with an anxious attachment style, it feels safer to be in this state of anxiety, worries, hypervigilance, and protest than to be in a regulated nervous system state. When a person with an anxious attachment style goes through a breakup, that pain combines with their baseline anxiety. And not in a way where 1 + 1 = 2, but in a way where 1 × 1 over time can equal 10. The person with an anxious attachment style will use the same protective strategy that they've learned works for them so far, and that is to escalate their feelings, heighten them, and express them strongly. Of course, this happens subconsciously. Also, all of their old wounds and doubts from the past will be re-triggered and heightened by the breakup. They will see the breakup as a confirmation of a past wound, like a core belief of being unlovable or unimportant or not valuable. And this core shame and core anxiety is something that someone with secure attachment doesn't go through alongside their breakup grief. So objectively speaking, it isn't as devastatingly painful to them. From the outside, you'll see someone with anxious attachment grieving their breakup very intensely. You'll see them experiencing intense emotions, lamenting their breakup, and in a way getting lost in the grief. That's because they don't have that strong inner adult voice that could comfort, reassure, and validate them. Yet. And just like people with secure attachment, people with anxious attachment will reach out to others to get help, support, and comfort. But unlike people with secure attachment, they have a hard time actually allowing others to comfort them, not because they don't want them to come close, but because it doesn't feel safe to them to actually calm down. They can't trust that state of a calm and regulated nervous system. Avoidant attachment. Just like the anxiously attached, people with an avoidant insecure attachment style carry core shame, anxiety, and insecurities from the experiences they've made so far in life. Children who grow up to be adults with an avoidant attachment style make the experience that emotions and vulnerability are bad, wrong, weak, and unacceptable. This sets avoidance up not only to stop sharing emotions that make them feel weak with others, but also to avoid coming in contact with these emotions and vulnerability in themselves. They also often shut down or pull away when they see others going through these emotions. So, sharing, witnessing, experiencing emotions that make them feel weak triggers shame, anxiety, and insecurity in avoidance, and that makes them pull away from vulnerability. So while someone with an anxious attachment style learned to escalate their emotions to feel emotionally safe and to try and get their needs met, avoidance learned to detach from their emotions and pull away from them to feel emotionally safe and get their needs met. In the end, neither of these strategies lead to authentic emotional safety or fulfilled needs, because for the anxiously attached, their criticism stands in the way of expressing emotional needs and getting them fulfilled and feeling emotionally safe. And for the avoidance, their shutdown and detachment and not speaking up about needs stands in the way of feeling emotionally safe and getting their needs met. When an avoidant now goes through the emotionally shattering experience of a breakup, separation, or divorce, they will use the same protective strategy that they've been using for their whole life. And that is avoidance. They will continue to be out of touch with their pain, to stuff it down, deny it, neglect it, hide it, pretend it's not there, don't talk about it, don't think about it. Of course, that doesn't mean it's not there. This disconnection from their pain, vulnerability, and themselves will then show up as other problems for avoidance, like addiction, anger issues, loneliness, depression, or somatic symptoms. From the outside, it can seem like the avoidant doesn't care about the breakup, like they're just going on with their life uninterruptedly, like they're not affected at all. And that's not them trying to send you a hurtful message that I never cared about you, so I'm unaffected. This is just the only way that they've learned to relate to emotions so far. Avoidance will also, of course, not reach out to others as much or at all. They'll think that talking about it will only make it worse. Disorganized attachment. Fearful avoidant or disorganized insecure attachment is an attachment style with both high avoidance and attachment anxiety. It's not just a combination of the two, though. It's a new pattern that creates a push and pull dynamic in relationships of wanting to be close, but then feeling the need to push away again. People with this attachment style will experience intense emotional turmoil after a breakup, having difficulty processing it without internalizing negative core beliefs even more. And I recommend seeking professional help if you've got this attachment style. It's often harder to resolve in itself and makes processing a breakup harder as well. After looking at why people respond differently to breakups and why some seem not to grieve, there is one question that's still open, and that is why breakups can affect the same person differently. Like some of you commented that you felt more pain and a sense of withdrawal from your current ex compared to previous ones. A breakup can affect you more or less intensely depending on the circumstances of the breakup and the relationship. So questions like, how long were you together? How strong was your emotional connection? How intertwined had your lives become? At which time in your life were you together with this person? How strongly did this relationship influence the identity you formed during that time? Aside from that, the personality and attachment style of your ex will also have contributed to the quality of the breakup and is still influencing you even though you're not together now. And this is especially true if your ex had an insecure attachment style. That can create wounds that are deeper to process and heal from, no matter what your attachment style is like. For example, a person with disorganized attachment will bring this push and pull dynamic into a relationship. And that subjects you to a pattern of something called intermittent reinforcement. You'll have phases that are really rewarding. You feel close and bonded. And then you'll have phases with this distance between the two of you, phases in which you've been pushed away and that are full of longing for closeness. And this is the reinforcement pattern that's most addictive because this switch between push and pull is unpredictable for you. And that puts you in longer and stronger phases of being in this dopamine-induced state and tension of expecting and hoping for closeness. Another example is if your ex had bipolar disorder or psychosis, and that influenced the breakup. That's much harder to process as well. Or if your ex had a personality disorder, that will affect you even now after you've broken up a lot more as well. So not only your own personality and attachment style influences the quality of the breakup, but also the personality and attachment style of your ex. And of course, the two of you create a unique dynamic. And the more that has qualities of a trauma bond, the harder it'll be to process the breakup and end of this relationship. Okay, I'll stop there. Till next time, take care. And remember, what you see on the outside of someone after a breakup is not always a valid representation of what they're going through on the inside. And it doesn't say anything about how important you were to them or how much they loved you when you were together.